Welcome to Road Lines with the B.R.O.A.D. Babe, Writing Out a Dream. This show is sponsored by WritersClaw.com, NailMail.com, and CoolWriterGear.com. Now let's get this show revved up. Take it away, Ursula.
Thank you so much, Brother Todd. Peace, hugs, and pipes of rumble, people.
Okay, so this evening I am talking to Mr. Kendall Hill. Kendall, tell us, what state are you from, hon?
I'm from Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. All right, cool deal. And now, as we talked a little bit in the pre-show, we kind of got a little bit of a script just so I can get some information from you for this series that we're doing about amputee awareness and just kind of educating the world on what it is that folks like us go through. And in the pre-show, we were talking about how, folks don't always know. You might see somebody that has an amputation or a prosthetic, but unless you live it, you don't get it. So that's kind of what we're doing here. So we're going to kind of kick it off. And, Kendall, you're my first victim. So can you tell us, Kendall, and do you prefer Ken or Kendall, or do you have a riding name or a nickname that you prefer?
Either one works. I've gone by Ken in the past. I've gone by Kendall. So
all right,
sounds good. Which is easier for you?
No worries. Everything's easy for me, give or take walking. So let me ask you now, Kendall, I know a little bit about your story because we're Facebook buddies, but only a tiny bit. Can you tell us, first of all, what year did this happen to you, and what is the degree of your amputation?
It happened in November of 2011, and I am a knee disarticulate or an above-the-knee amputee.
Okay. Now, I've seen that, and again, even us amputees are different than each other. What does that articulate mean? Can you explain that to us?
It means that I was amputated basically through the knee. My upper leg bone is complete and intact, and that's it. I don't have anything below it.
Okay. So the articulation then means through that joint that puts the top and the bottom together then. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's good to know because actually I didn't even know that, and I've seen that a couple of times in some of the things that folks have submitted to me. There's another gentleman that's coming up soon. He is a right shoulder disarticulation. So I'm assuming that must mean he was taken off all the way at the top of the shoulder. So thank you for that piece of education. And now I'm going to kind of turn it over to you here for a couple of minutes. And within your comfort level, if you could tell us a short story about why you became an amputee, if you would share that with us, please.
Well, my oldest son we were both, I'm an adult leader with a Boy Scout troop in Oklahoma, and my son was doing his first rappelling, and I wanted to get a good picture of him rappelling. So I got to an area, and I thought I saw a better spot, better vantage spot. So I moved over to it, and as I was leaning out to take the picture, gravity took over. Mother Nature was not nice to me. Some rocks gave way, something shifted, and I fell about 40 feet, maybe a little bit further, in an area down in Oklahoma called the Wichita Mountains, and the 40-foot hole is what they call it. I ended up at the bottom, and Boy Scouts were there to take care of me. It took about 2.5 hours for them to finally get me out of there just because of the location and difficulty in getting me out of there.
Yeah, I read that in that article you shared with me. Yeah.
And when I finally got to the hospital, they had to airback me from Lawton to Oklahoma City, which driving is about 2 hours or hour and a half, 2 hours. I don't know how long of a flight it was. I don't remember that part of it. But doctors gave me about 3% chance survival that night. They were just sure that I had all sorts of internal injuries, and what ended up being the reason I had to be amputated was the infection in my lower leg. They were trying to rebuild my leg after the infection was taken care of, but they was never able to get the infection taken care of. So they made the decision to amputate my leg.
Okay. Wow, goodness gracious. That whole infection thing is a repetitive story over and again. I had a slight scare myself I'd say about maybe 5 to 6 weeks after I got to my dad's for recovery. I went for a checkup basically, and they had to build me half of a man-made femur, but they wouldn't put me in surgery because I had this infection. 3 rounds of antibiotics, the regular oral antibiotics, heavy-duty stuff, but still the infection wouldn't go away, and they ended up cutting me open and debriding the leg again, pulling out things like glass and gravel and what have you. And finally the debriding got that gunk out, and probably about 5 days later, the infection was under control and they could operate again to build the femur. So, and I've heard stories, similar to what you're saying, similar to mine. I was fortunate in that it was under control, but had it not been, the doctor told me that they were going to take it off above the knee. And it's like, holy crap, you just took part of my leg off not a month and a half ago. Now you're telling me you're going to take more of it off? And it's a freakish thing. For one thing, I had the option of having multiple surgeries to try to piece it back together.
Right.
But they told me I'd still have a floppy foot. I was still missing massive amounts of tissue, so I would have a grotesquely deformed leg that wouldn't function anyway. And so to me, there was no option really. It's take it off and let technology help me walk again. But the infections, I've heard this time and again how the infections will take more of it off if they can't get it under control, or take it all the way up to the top. And I've seen that as well. So I'm really sorry that happened to you, dude, but probably all in all, it's better than the infection going to your heart. So
yes.
What's a leg compared to life and to keep watching your kid grow, right?
Right. Well, and they had been trying to save my foot. When I'd fallen, I landed mostly on my left side, but also it was head first, turn, feet first, left side, and it was, like I said, the knee down was just really destroyed. And my foot was held on by the Achilles tendon and the artery. So they were thinking they could save my foot. I saw the x-rays, and there were multiple breaks. The lower leg bones didn't line up with the upper leg bones at all. And they were thinking that they could save it. And it would have been, I think they said August, maybe, before I could walk again. And as it turned out, in March, I was back to work. Not full-time, but getting there. So,
right.
Again, it was, the option of maybe another 6 months I might be able to walk, and may have turned out the same way. May have been, take the foot, let me feel better. Let me walk like I need to.
Right. I get that totally, and I've actually had some very deep conversations with men that I know personally that have gone through, traumatic injuries to the legs, and they tried to save the limb, and as it turns out, they've had nothing but years and years of, just issue after issue, infections, all of these things, one of whom has finally decided to take the leg off, and the other two haven't quite decided as of yet. It's a very tough choice to make.
It is. Well,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
Fortunately, through Scouts, one of the dads I knew, his son was in a motorcycle wreck in Arizona. And it seemed to be a simple, broke his foot, and we talked about the infection. It got worse and worse and worse. In about last Thanksgiving, maybe it was a year ago Thanksgiving, he came up here to visit his family, and he had a fever and everything, and they took him to the doctor. Well, the leg had infection, and they ended up, doing it below the knee. Well, the infection had got into the bone, and they weren't able to get it under control, so they had to take it, like me, at the knee. And I went and visited him several times, telling him, hey, it's not over. I mean, you've still got a long ways to go. You just got to learn how to do things a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And, it's funny you say learn to do things different. One of the things that I try to help people understand, and I try not to be cynical or negative about it, but, folks want to try to encourage you, but I can't tell you how many videos were posted to my Facebook when that lovely amputee lady was on Dancing with the Stars, and people are like, oh, you can do anything. Oh, you can do anything. Does the technology exist for leg amputees? Yeah, pretty much. I probably could do almost anything. But what people forget is somebody's got to pay for that durable medical equipment. Is even if you have insurance, you've still got to pay your deductible or your maximum for the year. And these fancy-dancy legs, I mean, I just have a basic leg. I'm not sure what you have. We can get into that shortly, but I have a fairly basic leg. It provides me mobility and a certain amount of functionality. I mean, that's all it is really a functioning leg. I don't have a wooden leg, but, it's not all tricked out. But some of these legs, they get up into the hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on what you're doing. These robotic legs and all those things. And so people don't always understand, it's like buying a car. Do you just want that little 4-cylinder fuel economy little thing to get you from here to work, or do you want that Lamborghini that's going to take you 250 miles an hour? So there's different types of legs, and it's what him or her can afford in their life as to what their functionality could be. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Fortunately, I'm a veteran, so the VA helps me out a lot with mine. But yes, the prices on these are the Lamborghini, a Corvette type price tag. And when you have to pay, your, like you said, your minimum hits your deductible, and then, in 2 or 3 years it's wore out. It's not something that you buy once and it lasts forever. I've had ankles because I wear different, sometimes I'm wearing tennis shoes, sometimes I'm wearing cowboy boots. So I have a ankle that can adjust for those different type heels. And it lasted maybe a year and it broke. So then it was like, we try to get another one through insurance and everything, and they just don't say, okay, well, go ahead and get what you need. They want to run through it and just, it seems like, drag it out, thinking maybe you'll forget about it or something. Insurance companies are notorious for denying claims, I hear.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And kind of what you're talking about, the adjustable ankle, I had, or I have right now, I have the runway foot, and that foot, I can adjust the heel. I can wear flat sandals, or I can go up to a 1 3/4 heel. Like my
that's what I've got too.
Yeah, the runway foot?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. That's a pretty decent foot, and it has served me mostly okay. But with a lot of this stuff, and I don't know, you can reply to this as well, but with a lot of things I do, not just your basic walking and your basic motorcycle riding, but I wouldn't say I'm a hiker, but I like to be in rough nature. And you hit a rock the wrong way, you've got no flexion because you have no ankle. And that hurts. It hurts. And people don't get it. It's like a shock going all the way up your residual limb. Do you experience that?
Yeah, and it's kind of like ice. Oklahoma's really bad for ice. And, with 2 legs and 2 feet and everything, you hit ice, well, you can kind of maybe keep your balance. You can kind of dance around there and maybe catch yourself. But with a prosthetic, your foot's not going to hit flat.
Right.
And when you start to lose your balance, you put your foot down. Well, it may be at such a weird angle, you just don't have a chance.
Yep, exactly.
And you start to slide, you're going.
Yeah, that's it. You're done. And, you just made an excellent motorcycle rider point. And I have said this on Facebook before, and I tried to explain it in person to people. What you're talking about where you try to put your foot down, and I don't know if I'm going to paint the appropriate picture or not, but if our listeners will practice this when you're listening to us, if you try to put your foot down and you make a flat foot, you can rock back and forth with your body and your ankle, and your foot can stay flat. 100% of your foot stays flat. That does not occur for us with these types of feet. And what my problem was, and getting used to, and still is for now, on my motorcycle, in a gravel situation or a situation where I need to push myself back, I've got my right foot is totally flat. And so I am getting 100% connection with the ground. And so 100% force from my right side. But my left side, the only piece of foot that connects with the ground is that heel. And I can't get enough force and enough connection with the ground to give me what I need to push that, 900-pound motorcycle backwards.
Yes.
And until you show somebody what you mean, they don't get it. And so that, again, another reason why we're trying to do these series here. Now, what I will tell you, because I'm getting one, I got one already, but you might have the desire to check out this Rush foot. Now, Rush makes several different models. What I heard originally from my first leg guy was that because it is a more flexible material, and I wish I knew the technological word for this material, the more flexible material, I tell you what, and we did this in the pre-show, I was telling you how excited I was. I feel like I have toes. My foot rolls. Now, I still don't have 100% connection with the ground, but I am getting a lot better flexion, and I feel like I'm taking a really nice, smooth step. And my leg man said to me, you got the parallel bars there, and it's a little bit offset with I think it's probably like 3/4-inch board that they've got these bars affixed to. And he goes, I want you to step on the edge of that board right there with just your toes. And usually, let's say for me and you, that might be a rock, it might be a stick in the yard, or it might be a dog toy in my living room.
Yeah, I got a bunch too much.
I know, right? But when you step on those things, it sends a jolt through your nervous system up your leg. I did it with that Rush foot, and I'm not here to promote Rush. I'm here to promote my own good life. I stepped on that material in that awkward state, and I had absorption for that shock because the foot gives. Now,
well, what about walking down slopes?
Well, now, I didn't go outside with it today. I wanted to, but they were already pressed. I was already an hour over my appointment anyway. I was there for 2 hours. So I didn't get a chance to go outside with it, and it was just a check socket. So like the gaiter and the outer sleeve, that wasn't all taped on and finished off and what have you. And plus it's an elevated vacuum system, so they don't want you to walk too far because if you get air in there and it flops off, you could fall down and get hurt, So I didn't get to do significant walking on it. But I tell you what, Kendall, for that hour I was in there walking back and forth to him, walking around the office. He'd do a little tweak here. He'd do a little tweak there. I tell you what, I was thoroughly impressed. And I've heard many people on the various Facebook support sites that say that these are wonderful feet. I have heard only one person tell me, and this person does not wear a prosthetic, told me that that is not the foot for me because as active as I am and the things I do, I would wear it out in 6 to 9 months. And my leg man today, yeah, I don't know, but I have surveyed some people on these various sites, and people are wearing them year, 2 year. My leg man today has had his for 2.5 years. I mean, I'm not out running marathons or jumping on trampolines. I just want to be able to take some uneven territory without feeling like it's
worrying,
shocking me. Yeah, absolutely. So,
well, I've got a big motorcycle too, and I always have to back it into my garage. Fortunately, it's kind of level, a little bit of a downslope, so it kind of, if I can get it rolling, I may be able to come in there further. But I always have to put the kickstand down when I'm trying to back up, just because I'm afraid to lean over too far on the left side.
Yeah, I get you there. I get that a little bit. Now, I haven't had to do that in particular, but I can, from the physics of it and from being what I've got going on, I can totally get how that would happen. Now, when you push your motorcycle backwards, and we kind of got off on a little bit of a tangent here. Obviously, you're a motorcycle rider, and that's part of why I've got you on the show, but we're going to go backwards in a minute here. But
okay.
When what I wanted to find out, first of all, or what I wanted to share with folks is how long after your amputation until you started to ride again?
It was about 6 months, I think. I had gone, my initial socket that I had was bulky on the inside. It didn't allow me to get my feet where I felt comfortable on the bike. So I waited till I got my next socket, and it allowed me to have my leg closer on the motorcycle. So that was my timing then, and it was coming up on summer, and so I ordered my shift kit, sat out there in my garage, and spent 2 or 3 days because I don't move around quite like I used to, and did the adjustments and customizing of what I needed to get it to fit. And then I went out, and that picture I sent you was me riding the bike. That was the first time to ride it, and I had to have my shorts on. I don't usually ride with shorts. That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen people doing. One bug, and your day's over with, it seems like. But I rode around a little bit just so my sons could take a picture of me riding and show them that prosthetic leg, and that was, like I said, about 6 months after my leg was amputated. And I didn't ride as much the last summer because we were in the process of getting a new socket made, and it wasn't fitting quite right, so it was about 30 minutes, and it started to ache. So I'd have to, if I'm driving a vehicle, I can stand up or pull over and stand up or something like that, but it's harder to do on the motorcycle to adjust and shift. As you know, your feet go in one spot, maybe 2 spots in your limited area, but at least in my truck I can shift my weight around and move around a little bit and get a bit more comfortable. But this summer I'm planning on that to be a whole new story because my son, who I was trying to take a picture of, turned 14, and I bought him a motorcycle.
Oh,
so
heaven.
He's going to get his permit, and I'm going to throw my youngest one on the back of my bike, and we're going to, weekends come when the weather's nice, we're going to go ride.
That is totally cool. I think that's awesome. And now, let me ask you this. When you did first start riding, and we talked about a couple of these little things, what were your biggest or the major issues that you had physically in operating that motorcycle? And how did you if it's possible to explain, sometimes you just can't get it unless you do it. How did you compensate for those issues, so to speak?
Being a left leg amputee, most of the time when we first start riding, we're taught you pull up to the stop sign, your right foot stays on the brake, your left foot goes down, and that's kind of where you balance. Well, that all changed. It was my right foot had to go down and stay on the handbrake, and my left leg just basically stayed where it was at. I want to try working this summer on putting both feet down. My knee doesn't flex quickly enough to get it back onto the floorboard, but I have highway pegs, and I just prop it up there. So that was the first thing, and it's been just training my brain basically to, when I stop, put the right foot down and hold the handbrake. One of my other things was to put the kickstand down. I've heard some people say, well, I just lean over there and flick it down. Well, my bike sets up high enough that I can't reach down there far enough to get the kickstand, so I found a fireplace poker I had around the house and welded a little T or bar across the end of it, put some Velcro on it so I could attach it on my motorcycle by my saddlebags, and so when I get ready to put the kickstand down, I'll grab it and hook the kickstand and put it down.
And what kind of bike is that?
It's a Honda 1800 VTX.
That is the very first motorcycle that I drove after I got my first prosthetic, and I didn't even know this guy 2 hours, and he wanted me to drive that VTX. That is a huge bike.
Yes.
Yeah.
My parents wanted to sell it while I was in the hospital, and they were advised not to do that by several people. Do not do that. And
somebody else will be missing some legs.
Yeah, I think people who are not as amputees, but the family members, the support people, think that they've got to change our whole world. But most of us want to get back to the world was in. We don't want it changed. We want to get back to where it was at.
Yeah.
And that was part of my rehabilitation, was getting back on my motorcycle.
Absolutely. A piece of freedom, a piece of passion, a piece of something that, it wasn't just work and responsibility, something that made you you. I get that. I totally get that. And now I also totally get what you're talking about with that whole kickstand thing. And that's why I asked you what you rode, is because, like for me, I didn't have a problem getting the kickstand down on the Sportster or on this Heritage that I have now. But on the Sportster, I had a problem getting the kickstand up because it was so far forward that I couldn't reach it with my leg, appropriately.
Right.
And what I did with that one is I would roll forward just a couple of few inches and let the kickstand kind of drag the ground, and and then it would come part way up, and then I could kick it the rest of the way. The Heritage, I've got no problems up or down. It happens to have a nice big, I don't know how you want to call it, but it's like that flat piece that it rests on. It's very wide and substantial.
Okay.
I'm able to grab that nicely. But I have heard another amputee female actually gave me a suggestion. I don't know what bike she was on at the time, but she said that she just had her bike mechanic, I guess, heated it up with a welder and just gave it a much better bend so that it wasn't flat so much, and she had a little lip she could grab hold of. I think she's on a different bike now, the Road King, I think now. But in a lot of the bikes now, I don't know if you've noticed, but Harleys in particular, because I tend to look at them more so, but I am noticing now a lot of side stands have that extra knob thing sticking up. I don't know the technical term for it, but it's not just the side stand. It's got this extra piece that sticks up.
It sticks out a little bit further so that you can actually, if normal people would get their foot on it, their heel on it, or whatever to help.
Yeah,
because that Honda, my Honda, it's real streamlined. It seems like it's real close in, And I've thought about, and I'll probably do it here while I'm not able to ride right now because it's cold, but get an extension that goes out on it so it sticks out on the kickstand. I won't still be able to get it with my foot because I just don't have any control over the knee, but it will give me something better to put my fireplace poker on to put the kickstand down with.
I hear you. And now, and I don't know really if you had much, and I think it plays along with the way that you were injured. You were injured on a Boy Scout trip. You fell off of a cliff. Totally different thing than being injured while on that motorcycle. But I'm wondering, did you have any mental reservations about getting back on that motorcycle? You know, you'd already been through so much trauma.
Maybe a little bit at first, and it was the weight. I mean, that was a big thing, you know, if this thing goes down on me. But I've got engine guards, and I learned my bike was backed into by a car one time when it was parked, and they knocked it over, and these engine guards kept the bike from really any damage happening to it. And I talked to several people who trained with the highway patrol or county, you know, the deputies and stuff like that. And they were always told, stay with the bike that goes down because the engine guards and all that stuff will help protect you. So when I went out that first time riding it, I dumped it twice. The electric shifter, it was the first time, and I had it in first, and I hit the button again, and it kicked it into neutral.
Okay,
and
wait, hold on. Can I stop you for 1 second?
Yeah.
Now, you said you've got the electric shifter. Is that part of the modifications you did to your motorcycle due to the amputation?
Yes.
Okay. I was going to ask you about that. Go ahead, continue, and then if you could tell us a little bit about the electric shifter you have when you're ready.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. And consequently, I was turning to my left. So when I started off, I did the normal. I let off the brake, clutch and accelerated and kind of leaned to the left, and I was in neutral. So the bike laid down, and I just kind of stayed where I was at, got up, picked it up, put the kickstand down, got back on it, and then rode it home, and then had pictures taken and everything. And the next time I was right in front of the house getting ready to back it in and did the same thing. Again, leaning to my left. I wasn't ready, didn't have the mindset right yet. And this time I had my son help me pick it up. It was, after one time picking it up, I was tired, and there was no way I was going to make it a second time.
I hear you.
The shift kit I got is, the name brand is Kendall.
Okay.
And what it is it hooks down to the shifter. The foot, I've got a heel toe on my bike.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to do some modification because the kit wasn't made for my model. So I just kind of adapted and modified what I needed to make it work. And then up by the hand grip, I had to move the controls over a little bit, and there's a button I put up there. There's two buttons, and up are one console basically with two buttons on it. One's to shift it up and one's to shift it down. And I could put an engine interrupter so I wouldn't have to clutch it, but at the time I had fuel in the tank and I didn't want to drain all the fuel and get into all the wiring, so I just left that part of it off, and I figured I can still clutch and hit the button with no problem, so that's what I do. Okay.
It's my understanding, and I hope I say this correctly, and I'm sure some of my other interviewees will correct me later if I'm wrong, but I think when you do that Kendall Easy Shift, what I have been told is that the interrupter, it's okay, and it doesn't totally screw up the trans, but if you do a lot of around town at lower speeds, that interrupter can eventually wear out the trans faster than it should. And if you have it without the interrupter and you're actually clutching, basically, and for those that aren't motorcycle riders, or if you don't drive a manual automobile, which there's not a lot of those around anymore, but basically when you pull in that lever that we call the clutch, or if you press that pedal in a car that's called the clutch, basically that car is now in neutral, and it's waiting for you to go up a gear or down a gear. So you and I already know this, but when you pull that clutch in, it's my understanding on the Kendall Easy Shift and on most of these electric shifters that if you can clutch still, it's far better for the trans. That's what I'm understanding. So
that would make sense to me.
I think ultimately you did yourself a favor with that one. That's awesome. That's totally cool. Now, and I'm going to ask you, you've got the heel toe shifter. Do you have that easy shift because you don't have a knee and you don't have that flexibility?
Yes, there's no way that I can basically move my foot to either the toe side or the heel side to shift.
So you can't stomp down.
Right. I mean, I could stomp down, but I wouldn't know if I was hitting the heel part or the toe part.
Okay.
You know, you'd have to look over there and see where the foot's at, and at least this way, so I don't have to think about it.
Gotcha.
The only thing I have a problem is sometimes I'm in high gear, and I don't know if I'm in high gear, and I'll hit it, and it'll kick it down a gear instead of leaving it in high gear.
Okay. So, I was curious about that because I am below the knee. I only have 45% flexion in my knee, but I have enough bend in my knee that I function normally with the heel-toe shifter. The only thing I did, my mechanic and I did, was I put a 1.5-inch spacer and a longer bolt on the toe portion, because what was happening is I would upshift by hitting the heel, but then when I would go to relax my foot and cruise, my toe would accidentally hit the toe portion and I downshift. So it was because I couldn't move my ankle out. The ankle doesn't move out.
You couldn't flex it. You couldn't twist it.
Yep, exactly. So that little bit gave me enough space that I was able to use a heel-toe shifter with next to no problem. Every once in a blue moon, if I'm, just really, really cruising and I get a little too cocky, then every once in a while my toe will hit it again and I'll be like, you ding-dong, but we could do that with 2 good feet, so whatever.
And I've caught myself trying to shift, and my foot will be sitting in a position that it will be above the toe portion of my shifter. So it's trying to kick it up a gear, but my foot's keeping it from going far enough to shift it.
Right, yeah.
And I'm wondering, okay, why am I not shifting? And I think, let me move slide my foot over a little bit or something like that. And after I do that, it's like, okay, because those highway pegs are my savior.
Yeah, absolutely. I get you. Yeah, you put your feet up, you can relax. And is it pretty? Now, I have this goofy thing, and I'm just getting used to it, but to me it's almost like I got weight on that foot, extra weight, which I do, but it feels more intense. I notice when I'm at a higher rate of speed and I try to put my foot up on my highway pegs, it's like I really got to use the muscle to get it up there to combat the wind resistance. Like the wind wants to make my leg fly backwards. Do you feel that? Do you have to hold your leg?
I don't really move mine around much. Once I get going, I put it up on that highway peg. The only thing I have is I sometimes might have to move my foot in. It'll feel like it's moving. My leg is, because of rough roads or whatever. Yeah, I'm afraid it's going to fall off. And then my leg will drop down, the toe will catch, and who knows what will happen then. So I really pay attention so my foot doesn't slide off. It'd be embarrassing.
Yeah, well, no, it's not that embarrassing, especially if you have really wonderful friends. It turns into a really cool joke because I am actually right now, I'm staying at my dear friend's in Georgia, And I rode with him and a couple of other buddies in Florida for Daytona last year. And then I've ridden with him here around his area. And it's funny because I was on the back of his bike at that time. This was way last year. I had not replaced my bike yet. And I'm on the back, being the chick on the back, you know. And I told him, I said, look, I said, I can't feel when my leg starts to, like, vibrate off. I said, I get to be relaxed, and I'm not putting muscle into making my foot stay on the floorboard. I said, so, you know, don't freak out if my leg goes off of the, you know, the, what do you call, running boards, the passenger boards. I said, don't freak out. I'll just pick it up and put it back on. So we're in Daytona when it happened the first time, and he goes, oh, my God, I'm just going to Velcro your leg to me. Well, that might not be good if we go down. But sure enough, you know, he would lean left or something, and or a bump in the road, you know, that might make it, like, kind of jolt off to the left. And I'd be, oh, crap, I got to get my leg back up here.
Well, and there's a guy at work who's a below the knee, and I guess his socket doesn't fit very tight or something like that. But he was riding this motorcycle, and he just got it or something like that. And I don't know, I've just heard the stories, but somehow his foot fell off.
Oh, yeah, for real. The foot fell off of the leg.
Yeah. Well, and,
I've
you know,
this.
he pulled over, and there just happened to be some cops. You know, somebody was following him. A friend was following him and came running up with his foot, and there was some cops sitting catty corner or whatever, just laughing.
Yeah.
Because here he is, you know, he's got one leg, and he can't, you know, he couldn't change gears, or I don't know if it was left or right, but he wasn't able to, you know, he was just kind of stuck.
What I have heard, and I've heard that same story, men, the nature of the beast, you know, there's a lot more men out there than women, particularly that field narrows when you're talking about crashes and amputations. But I have heard that story probably 3 to 4 times. And every one of these stories I've heard, it is these dudes that have the pin lock system. Now, my leg, and I don't know what kind of leg you have, but I have the elevated vacuum system, and my pylon is bolted to my socket. I cannot, like, let's say I wanted to relax and lay down on the couch. I can't just click that pin and pull the foot in the pylon off. I've got to take my entire prosthetic off. It is all connected unless I unbolt it.
And that's the way mine is. And, you know, I'm, like I said, I'm above the knee, and I don't, mine's a suction also, and it's, you know, there's a vacuum release valve basically at the bottom of the sockets.
Yeah.
And so every step I take, it makes it, you know, it forces what little air that may be in there out. So it keeps going very tight. Every once in a while I'll feel myself, I'll bump it on the tank or something like that, and it'll, you know, release pressure, and I'm like, well, that's okay. I'm sitting down. I'm not really worried about falling off, you know, but because it's going to take more than just a little bit of air pressure being released for the thing to fall off.
Right. A little bit of air pressure is just a discomfort. A lot of release of air pressure, you know. You could actually, I've heard that you can actually damage your leg more if you try to walk in it with too much air in there. And I totally get that because it pulls on your limb. That vacuum is so good that if you do get some air in there, it pulls that limb, and that hurts. But I've heard that losing the leg thing, like literally losing your leg on your motorcycle. But the only stories I've heard, 3 or 4 of them, I can't remember precisely, they were all pin lock systems. And I just don't know, man, if I could trust something like that. You know?
Yeah, because I, you know, the whole thing connected, like you said, you know, I got my knee, and it's all bolted to the socket. You know, it's not like I just pull pieces off. It's all one unit, basically.
Yep. Yeah, I totally get you there. So, well, that's cool. Now, you did that work with the Pingle Easy Shift yourself?
Yes.
Okay, so we don't need to give any shout-outs to any cool shops that helped you do any of this?
No, I would if there was any around that, but I was in the service as a helicopter mechanic. I've been a mechanic since I could touch a wrench, I guess.
Wow. Cool.
So I can usually figure out what I'm needing to do.
Gotcha.
It may not look perfect the first time, but let me play with it a few times. I can make adjustments and make it look pretty good by the time I get done if I sit down and really put my mind to what I want to do. I wish I had a machine shop. There's a few more things I'd like to do, but
Oh, sure.
I saw one that had a basically outrigger on his motorcycle. And he was the left amputee, and he pushed a button, and this outrigger came down on the left side with a wheel on it, so when he came up to park or whatever, he could lean it over a little bit on the left side, and that was there to help hold him up and back into where he wanted.
So that wasn't the I've seen the ones that are the left and right outriggers. One model's got the very small wheels. Another model's got larger wheels that they look kind of, to me, they look a little too goofy for me. The ones with the little wheels aren't that big of a deal. And then I've also seen, and somebody suggested this to me originally with some of my initial issues, I've also seen the hydraulic center stand, so that when I am pulling to a or not me because I didn't have to do it, but like if somebody was pulling to a stop and you hit this hydraulic center stand, once you're stopped and your 2 feet are down, you hit this button and boom, automatically you got a center stand. So there's all kinds of stuff out there like that. And, you know, on the one hand, it's awesome, cool that technology is on our side. But on another hand, it kind of stinks how many motorcyclists are losing limbs. But, I mean, if you think about it, for those of us that lost our legs on the bikes and arms too, but legs in particular, if a car's going to hit you, where are they going to hit you? Their bumper is pretty much in line with you, somewhere between hip to knee, you know, and that's just the nature of the beast. So I'm really very thankful for technology, not only in the mechanics of motorcycling and engineering things to help motorcyclists maintain their passion, but obviously, first and foremost, to the engineering and the people that live their lives and their careers to give us legs so that we can find whatever our passion might be, motorcycling or otherwise. Yeah, absolutely.
Allowing us to keep riding, to go back to it, yes.
Yeah, and to keep hiking on rocks as long as we watch where we're going, wink, wink, nod, nod.
Stay away from those cliffs.
Yeah, right. Well, now, before we close out, Kendall, let me ask you something. And you knew what the mission was that I had in making regular folks aware of, you know, amputees in general. But is there some kind of a message, if you had a brief message to get out to the world about people with disabilities or amputees or whatever, or about faith or about anything, do you have a particular message that you live by that has helped you and something you want people to understand?
Well, basically when I was finally got home from the hospital and everything, I decided that I was going to find a silver lining in something every day. I was going to find something good because we could get ourselves down so easily, cower in a corner and not want the world to even see us and just fade away. But I decided that I wanted to find a silver lining in something. It might not be a very big one. We have bad days and good days, and the bad days sometimes are really bad, but I'd always try to find a silver lining. And that was the big thing for me, and then attitude. I've heard so many times that amputees heal better with a good attitude and a good outlook on what we're facing.
I like that thing about the one silver lining a day. I'm really digging that. And I try to implement that even before this happened to me. I try to implement something kind of similar to that. I've never expressed it quite in the manner that you have, but I always try to, if there's something that has pissed me off or something that's got me sad or whatever the case may be, I always try to think to myself, okay, A sucks, but at least it's not B.
Right. I saw, when I was first getting fit for my prosthetic, I saw a teenager who he may have been a hip dysarticulate. If he wasn't, he didn't have very much of a thigh muscle or thigh bone left, leg bone left. And I thought, it could be a whole lot worse. I could be a whole lot worse. And to fall 40 feet, hitting granite and everything like I did, to be there was surprise enough. I shouldn't have been. And so just to lose a leg and a whole lot of other bumps and bruises and bad body parts now, but it could be worse.
Yeah, absolutely. My granddaughter could be growing up without this grandma, or my son could be missing me, or your son could be missing you. It could be a whole lot worse. Absolutely to that. Well, I appreciate that attitude. And Kendall, I want to thank you. Let me first thank you for your service. I didn't realize you were a service member previously, so thank you so much for that. But then I also want to thank you for spending this time with me and helping to kind of, I hate to use the word educate, but enlighten people about, things like this. It's to no real fault of our own did this happen. It's just strange, weird circumstances. And we got to get on with life, and like you said, some days are really, really, really crappy, and some days are really good. You just got to move on. Absolutely. Well, Kendall, thank you so much, dear, and I look forward to following you on Facebook, and I'm so very thankful that you took your time to participate with me here today. Thank you.
Well, thank you for doing this. I think it's a great thing you're doing.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. And I look forward to including part of our interview as my follow-up article. That'll be probably latter part of February, perhaps. So there'll be a little follow-up to that. And then, as you and I know, we belong to some of the same Facebook groups for amputees and for amputee motorcyclists. So you and I will be playing in the same sandbox for a while, and hopefully at some point our asphalt will cross. That would be awesome.
That would be. Look forward to it.
Well, thank you, dear. God bless, and you take care of yourself, okay?
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Before ending this particular episode of the Amped Rider Project, I just want to give another thank you to my family, my friends, social media followers, the folks that have participated in this particular project, and to any of you out there that might just happen upon this series online. Without the support and encouragement of said people, there's no way I'd be where I am today. These people have lifted me up, encouraged me, told me that I could accomplish whatever I wanted, and I did. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, all of you. God bless. I want to wish everybody out there peace, hugs, and whatever makes your soul rumble.
For all things Broad, visit hdbroad.com. Road Lines and the Broad are sponsored by RidersClaw.com, NailMail.com, and CoolRiderGear.com. And remember, the Broad, B.R.O.A.D, Riding Out a Dream, and Peace and Hugs and Pipes That Rumble are trademarked and not available for use or copy.